All right, integrated students. This is going to be a very brief video, but in looking at our review topics on Delta Math, so this Delta Math is, let's see, today is Monday the 19th. You're taking your EOC on the 21st, and looking at this review section here, these little topics, there's only one on here that I know for a fact has not been covered. So that's what this video is for. So go back and talk about that. So what we're going to be doing is factoring. So here we got GCF, factor trinomials a greater than 1, multi-step factoring by grouping, difference of perfect squares. That's not the one. It's sum and difference of cubes. This is the only one that I have not actually gone through. So this lesson, and it's not going to take us long to do it and go over it. So we're going to work maybe two examples, a sum and then also a difference of cubes here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and we're going to write down some notes for how to do factoring, sum, or difference, and sum of cubes. So what you can do in your notes is you can put EOC review at the top, and in this section, of course, you can work a lot of the Delta Math. But we are, for this one, put factoring, difference, sum of cubes, and this just says level 1. So these aren't going to be too bad. But you have video help you can watch. You can look at the solution if you want whenever you're working these to get, or view an example, of course, to learn the pattern. But really all this is a pattern. There's not really a way to look at this and be like, oh, that factoring just sort of makes sense. I've been trying to think of ways for years that I've taught this. But really, it's just a pattern that gets discovered with these with this factoring. So let me get set up here. Okay, so sum and difference of cubes are always going to be factored, and they're always going to have these patterns. So if you have a sum of cubes, I really should just type this, sum of cubes. Okay. What that would look like, a cubed plus b cubed. Okay, so back in our example here, literally has an a here, so that's pretty easy. But then this is some number to the third power. Well, what to the third power is 64? So what would that be? Well, if I do, let's see, 8 times 8 is 64, so that won't work. But there exists a number to the third power that's going to get us 64. Okay, we'll figure that out later. But that would be a sum of cubes. And we have this acronym that we're going to use. So when we factor this, it's always going to have this format. It'll be a squared, or a plus b times a squared plus a times b, ab, and I have this wrong here, sorry, minus, okay, and then plus b squared. This is just a pattern that is always created when you're doing these difference or sum of cubes. For this one is particularly for sum of cubes, okay. Then we have difference of cubes. Let me write this out, hold on. The difference of cubes, and we know that that's going to be a cubed minus b cubed. Okay, and that you'll note sum is adding, difference is subtracting. So difference of cubes has this one, a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. So when we compare these, they're almost identical in the way that they're going to be factored out. And the only difference is the signs here in the beginning and here, okay? And we have an acronym that gets created from this. It's called SOAP. Okay? This means same, opposite, always positive. Okay, same, opposite, always positive. That's what this means. So what is it talking about? Well, here was a sum of cubes, right? So what happens with the same? Well, the same there. This is the same as this one, right? So that first sign, because that's what we're trying to determine here, because it's always the same format, a something b, or a add or subtract b, a squared add or subtract ab, and then that last one, as you'll notice here, is always going to be positive. So it's really just a pattern. There's not a big depth of any kind of difficult thing to learn here for us. We're not going to really deep dive into this. We're just memorizing this pattern that's created for these difference of cubes. Okay, so let's do this problem now. Let's work this. So this is a difference, right? So if we remember SOAP, okay, and we remember our format. So this is A, B. What's the symbol that's going to go there? Well, it's minus, right? Okay. A squared, opposite, right? So opposite sign. So this is a plus. A, B, always positive at the end. Okay. So now we just plug in the values. Well, first off, A is just A. So that does make this very easy. So if I'm going over here, I'm going to write this in green. A minus, well, we have to figure out what is C4. Again, I was talking about that earlier. What do I multiply by itself 3 times to get 64? That's what we have to determine. So there's a couple of ways that you could go about figuring that out. You can, of course, take the cube root of it, or you can take 64. I'm going to raise it to the 1/3 power on here. 4 times itself, 3 times is 64. So we're going to put a 4 here. Okay. A squared, put a plus sign. A times 4, which is going to be, we'll rewrite this since this is 4 here. We're going to rewrite it as 4a. Okay. And then plus b squared. So b squared is the same as 4 squared, right? So 4 squared, when we square that, it gets us 16. This should be the right answer to this. So let's go ahead and try typing that in. All right, so a minus 4, a to the second, opposite sign, 4a plus 16. Close it. We did it. Okay, so that's all you're having to do. You just, and you need to work on trying to memorize that formula. You're going to see here that they have all the rules to what, it's the same thing that I described for doing this difference of, or sum of cubes. Let's find a more complicated, let's do this one here. This one looks complicated, right? It absolutely looks complicated, but we can do it, okay? Sum of cubes, and we know that it's going to be in this format here. So it's the same symbol, a plus b. Okay, so it's the same. Then we go a squared, opposite sign, so minus ab plus b squared. So what's interesting is this whole term is kind of confusing that we're mixing up these letters here now. So I don't really like that. So let's actually go ahead and do this. Since it's addition, I don't know if I want to do that. Let's call this b cubed. I don't know if I like the way that this is being formatted for you all. It's kind of with the mixing with these letters, but we're in this format, a cubed plus b cubed. Man, I wish that was flipped. That would make this less confusing, but hopefully you're okay with what I'm talking about here. So we know that A is going to be the cube root of this. So that would be 4b. That's what the cube root of this is. Then b is going to be, take the cube root of this, so that's, I think, 5, yeah, that's 5. So 5a is that second one. Yeah, this is definitely a more complex example. I really hate that these letters are what they are. I honestly should just change those. I think we'll be okay though. So now we got to put it into this format here. So that's what we're going to do. So we know that A is, we're going to say 4B. I'm going to change colors here. So we want, it's going to be 4B plus this 5A. We have A squared. So we're going to take this and square it. So that's 16B squared. Okay, so we're squaring this A over here. Then it's A times B. So 4B times 5A, 20AB, plus, then we do B squared, which is this squared, so it's 25A squared. That should be our answer for this one. There we go. So we have that. Let's type that in, and I'll probably go ahead and wrap up this video. We're 11:30 here, 11 minutes, 30 seconds. So let's go ahead and try this. So it's 4B plus 5A, 16B squared plus 20AB. I think if you rearrange B and A, it should be okay there. I don't think the order is going to matter too much for delta math on that. So this should be our answer. I think it matches up well with what we have here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to submit. And okay, let's see. Oh, I missed this. I'm going to pretend like I did that on purpose. That could easily happen to you guys. A happy mistake, right? Yeah, make sure that you follow that format. One of those symbols will mess up all your hard work. This is a pretty complex problem, so just be careful with those symbols. I forgot my minus sign there. The rest of it was done properly, but just usually it's going to be a sign that messes you up. You at least get 2 tries. I only get 1 on these videos. So, all right, I'm going to stop it there, and you should have. We've seen all of the rest of these before. So I think you should be fine on these, but if you have questions, make sure that you ask.